Today, I'm going to show you the 5 squats you need to include in your routine to transform your mobility and restore your body's freedom of movement. And look, stay until the end because number 1 is simply the most powerful of all, and many people don't even know they should be doing it every day. Number 5. Isometric squat. If you've ever tried to squat deeply and felt like you couldn't hold that position for long, this is the first exercise you need to master. The isometric squat is simple but extremely powerful. Basically, it involves holding the deep squat position for as long as possible without moving. It might seem easy on paper, but when you try it, you'll quickly notice your body starts to complain. This happens because most people simply don't spend enough time in this position. Over time, the body loses this natural ability, and what should be a comfortable movement becomes difficult and painful. If this happens to you, the solution is simple. Retrain your body to feel comfortable in a deep squat. Now, think with me. If I asked you to stand still for 5 minutes, you'd probably do it without any issues. But if I asked you to hold a deep squat for the same time, it's a different story, right? Many people can't even last 30 seconds without feeling discomfort in their knees, ankles, or hips. This is a clear sign that your body is not used to this position, and that needs to change. The deep squat is a natural human movement. If you watch young children playing, you'll see them squatting all the time effortlessly. But as we grow older and spend more time sitting, we lose this ability. The result? Reduced mobility, joint pain, and difficulty moving fluidly. What the isometric squat does is reprogram your body to regain this natural mobility. Now, before I teach you how to do this exercise correctly, let me warn you, it will be uncomfortable at first. That's completely normal. Your body will resist because it's not used to it, but the more you practice, the more natural this position will become. The key is not to try holding it for an extreme amount of time on the first day, but to gradually increase your endurance. Now, let's get to the important part, how to perform this exercise correctly. First, we need to make sure your starting position is right. Many people think it's just about sitting down and holding the position, but there are some fundamental details that make all the difference. Foot position. Most people feel more comfortable with their feet slightly apart, about shoulder width. If your mobility is very limited, you might need to open them a bit more, but ideally, your feet should be firmly on the ground and pointing slightly outward. Controlled descent. Don't just drop down randomly. Lower yourself slowly, paying attention to how your body reacts to the position. If you feel like you're going to fall backward, it means your ankles are stiff and you may need a slight heel elevation at first. Torso posture. Keep your chest open and your spine neutral without collapsing forward. The goal here is to strengthen the squat position, not create more compensations. Weight distribution. This is crucial. Your body weight should be distributed between the midfoot and heel. If you feel too much pressure on your toes, try shifting your weight slightly backward. Breathing. Don't hold your breath. This is a very common mistake. Breathe deeply through your nose and exhale through your mouth, keeping your body relaxed in the position. Now, the big question, how long should you hold this position? If you're just starting, 30 seconds is already a great challenge. If you can do more, go for 45 seconds, then 1 minute. Over time, your goal should be to reach 2 minutes without support and without excessive discomfort. And what if you try and realize you can't hold it without falling backward or feel too much tension in your ankles and hips? No problem. There are modifications to make it easier at the beginning. Using support, you can hold onto a bar, a sturdy piece of furniture, or even position yourself near a wall for a bit more stability until you get used to it. Elevating your heels. If your ankles are very stiff, try placing a small elevation under your heels, like a wooden board or weight plates. This reduces the demand on your ankles and makes the position easier. Now, if you want to make the exercise more challenging, there are a few ways to step up the difficulty. Holding a weight on your chest, a light dumbbell or kettlebell will already increase muscle activation, increasing the hold time. If 2 minutes is easy, try 3, 4, or even 5 minutes. Raising your heels. Yes, elevating your heels makes it easier at first, but after gaining mobility, try doing the opposite. Hold the position with your heels off the ground, balancing on the balls of your feet. This requires much more balance and strength in your feet and calves. Number 4, deep squat with lateral movement. Now, let me ask you something. Have you ever tried squatting and felt like your hips were stuck, as if something was preventing you from going lower? Or maybe you noticed that your ankles wouldn't let you reach the ground without your heels starting to lift off. This is a classic sign that you not only need to spend more time in the deep squat position, but also learn to move within it. And this is where one of the most effective exercises exercises for improving mobility dynamically comes in. The deep squat with lateral movement. Unlike the isometric squat, where you just hold the position without moving, the idea here is to move while squatting, shifting your body weight from one side to the other. This helps your ankles, knees, and hips work more fluidly, teaching your body to gain more freedom of movement. You're not only improving your flexibility and mobility, but also increasing control over your body, which is essential for any physical activity. Now, before we continue, I need to give you a heads up. At first, this exercise might feel strange. Your body will resist. You might feel slight discomfort, and it may even seem like you're about to lose balance. But that's normal. The key here is to start slowly and let your body adapt. Now, let's get to the important part: how to perform this exercise correctly. The first thing you need to do is get into the deep squat position, meaning you should go as low as possible with your feet planted on the ground and your torso upright. Now, instead of staying still, you'll shift your weight from one side to the other, moving your hips with control and without rushing. You can think of it as a gentle sway from side to side, exploring the range of motion in your joints. If maintaining balance is difficult at first, hold on to something stable to help you stay steady until your body gets used to the movement. Now, if you're wondering why this is so important for your mobility, let me explain. When you move within the squat, you're helping your body create new movement patterns, teaching your muscles and joints to feel more comfortable in this position. Additionally, this movement increases circulation in the joints, helping to lubricate your knees and ankles. In no time, you'll notice that squatting and standing up become easier, and the discomfort you used to feel will gradually decrease. And if you think this exercise is only for improving mobility, let me tell you a secret. This type of movement also helps strengthen the stabilizing muscles in your body, those that provide you with better balance and prevent injuries. Whether you play sports, lift weights, or simply want to move better in your daily life, strengthening these muscles makes all the difference. Now, let's talk about common mistakes you need to avoid to get the most out of this exercise. The first mistake is trying to move too fast. This is not a speed exercise, it's about control. The goal is to feel the movement, explore your body's limits, and allow your joints to adapt. The second mistake is letting your heels lift off the ground. If this is happening, it could be a sign of stiff ankles. In this case, try using a small elevation under your heels at first, like a book or a weight plate, until your mobility improves. The third mistake is rounding your back too much. You need to keep your chest open and your spine neutral so that the movement truly benefits you. And now comes the big question: how many repetitions should I do? Since this is a mobility exercise, there's no exact number, but ideally you should spend at least 2 to 3 minutes a day moving within the squat. You can do it before your workout, in the morning, or even while watching TV. The more you do it, the faster your body will adapt. If you feel that the exercise is becoming too easy, there are a few ways to make it more challenging. The first way is to perform the movement without support, focusing 100% on balance and coordination. The second is to add a light load, holding a weight against your chest while you move. This forces your body to work even harder on stabilization, making the exercise more intense. Now, you might be wondering, do I really need to do this every day? The answer is yes. The key to regaining mobility is consistency. You don't need to spend hours exercising, but if you dedicate just a few minutes a day to this movement, I guarantee that in a few weeks, you'll notice a huge difference. Your hips will loosen up, your ankles will gain more freedom, and you'll feel much more comfortable squatting and moving in your daily life. So, here's a challenge for you. For the next week, take 2 minutes a day to practice the deep squat with lateral movement. It doesn't have to be perfect at first. The important thing is to move and feel your progress. After 7 consecutive days, let me know how the experience was. I bet you'll notice a big difference in how your body responds. Now that we've covered this exercise, it's time to move on to the next one on the list. And this is one of the most important because it helps unlock a region that many people overlook, but is essential for improving your squat and posture. If you experience back pain or struggle to keep your torso upright while squatting, the next exercise will help you fix that. So get ready. What's coming next could be a real game changer for your mobility. Number 3, squat with thoracic rotation. Now, let me ask you something. Have you ever tried squatting and noticed that even when trying to keep your torso upright, your back insists on rounding forward? Or have you ever felt a strange tension in your upper back and shoulders while trying to squat deeper? If so, your thoracic spine might be locked up, and that's a bigger problem than it seems. Many people focus only on hip and ankle mobility when trying to improve their squat, but forget that the spine also needs to be mobile and flexible for efficient movement. If your thoracic spine is stiff, you won't be able to open your chest properly during a squat, causing your body to compensate in some way, putting extra strain on other joints. What happens then? You start leaning your torso forward, lose balance, and even put more stress on your knees and ankles without realizing it. The squat with thoracic rotation teaches your body to open up the upper back and gain mobility in the spine, allowing you to maintain a much stronger and more aligned posture while squatting. Now, you might be thinking, I've never heard of this exercise. How exactly does it work? Let me explain. The idea here is to combine the deep squat with a rotational movement of the torso, which actively forces your thoracic spine to move, helping to unlock this region. This not only improves your squat posture, but also helps reduce accumulated tension in your back and shoulders, especially if you spend a lot of time sitting or working in front of a computer all day. Now, let's go straight to the correct execution of this exercise. First, get into the deep squat position. Your feet should be firmly planted on the ground and your chest should be as open as possible. Now, place one hand on the floor for support while raising the other hand toward the ceiling, rotating your torso. Hold the position for a few seconds, feeling the rotation in your thoracic spine. Then switch sides, alternating the movement. The key here is not to rush the movement. The slower and more controlled you do it, the better the effect on your mobility. Now, you might be wondering, why is this so important? Let me explain. When you perform this movement, you're teaching your body to keep the torso upright during a squat. This means that over time, your body will get used to not collapsing forward and you'll be able to maintain a stronger posture without even thinking about it. Additionally, this exercise also activates all the stabilizing muscles of the spine, which is essential for any type of training or functional movement. But like any exercise, there are common mistakes you need to avoid. The first mistake is not keeping your feet firmly on the ground. If your heels start lifting off the floor while you rotate your torso, it means your base of support is not stable. If this happens, try spacing your feet a little wider or using a slight elevation under your heels until your mobility improves. The second mistake is forcing the rotation beyond what your body allows. You don't need to twist your torso to the maximum. The goal is to improve mobility progressively without compensations. If you try to force it too much, you might end up putting excessive strain on other joints. Now, let's talk about progression. How long should you practice this exercise? Ideally, you should do at least 8 to 10 repetitions on each side every day. The more you practice, the more your spine will loosen up and the more natural this movement will become. If you want to make this exercise even more challenging, a great way to progress is by adding a light load, holding a dumbbell or kettlebell in the hand that is rotating upward. This will require more control and upper body strength, making the exercise even more effective. Now, let me give you a heads up. If you've never done this exercise before, you might feel a different sensation in your spine the first few times. That's completely normal. Your body isn't used to moving this way, so it takes some time to adapt. But after a few weeks of practice, you'll notice that your squat posture improves dramatically, and that stiffness in your back will start to fade away. Now, I want you to try this exercise today. Take 2 minutes out of your day to do this movement, even if it's without weight and with minimal rotation at first. Then see how you feel when you try a regular squat. I bet you'll already notice a difference in your posture and how easy it is to keep your chest open. And after practicing every day for 7 days, let me know how the experience was. But like any exercise, there are common mistakes you need to avoid. The first mistake is not keeping your feet firmly on the ground. If your heels start lifting off the floor while you rotate your torso, it means your base of support is not stable. If this happens, try spacing your feet a little wider or using a slight elevation under your heels until your mobility improves. The second mistake is forcing the rotation beyond what your body allows. You don't need to twist your torso to the maximum. The goal is to improve mobility progressively without compensations. If you try to force it too much, you might end up putting excessive strain on other joints. Now, let's talk about progression. How long should you practice this exercise? Ideally, you should do at least 8 to 10 repetitions on each side every day. The more you practice, the more your spine will loosen up and the more natural this movement will become. If you want to make this exercise exercise even more challenging, a great way to progress is by adding a light load, holding a dumbbell or kettlebell in the hand that is rotating upward. This will require more control and upper body strength, making the exercise even more effective. Now, let me give you a heads up, if you've never done this exercise before, you might feel a different sensation in your spine the first few times. That's completely normal. Your body isn't used to moving this way, so it takes some time to adapt, but after a few weeks of practice, you'll notice that your squat posture improves dramatically, and that stiffness in your back will start to fade away. Now, I want you to try this exercise today. Take 2 minutes out of your day to do this movement, even if it's without weight and with minimal rotation at first. Then see how you feel when you try a regular squat. I bet you'll already notice a difference in your posture and how easy it is to keep your chest open. And after practicing every day for 7 days, let me know how the experience was. Now that we've talked about the importance of thoracic spine mobility, let's move on to the next exercise on the list. And this one is one of the most important because it focuses on the most neglected part of the squat, the ankles. If you've ever tried squatting and felt like you couldn't keep your feet on the ground without your heels lifting, or noticed that your knees couldn't move forward naturally, then the next exercise will be a game changer for your mobility. Get ready. This next movement might be exactly what you need to completely transform your squat. Number 2, squat with heel elevation. Now think about this. How many times have you tried squatting and noticed that your feet weren't completely on the ground, or that as you lowered yourself, you felt a strange tightness in the front of your ankle? This happens because many people have stiff ankles, which limits the body's natural movement during a squat. And if your ankles don't have enough mobility, guess what happens? Your body tries to compensate elsewhere, usually by overbending the lower back or misaligning the knees. And that's exactly what we want to avoid. Many people don't realize it, but the ankles are fundamental for an efficient squat. If they don't have a good range of motion, you'll never be able to squat with stability and comfort. And this is where one of the best exercises comes in, the squat with heel elevation. This exercise teaches your body to gain more freedom in the ankles, while also strengthening all the muscles in the area, preventing compensations that could lead to pain and injuries. Now, let's get straight to the practice. To start, stand with your feet shoulder width apart. Now, go into a deep squat position, but this time, instead of keeping your feet completely on the ground, you'll rise onto the balls of your feet, lifting your heels as high as you can. Then hold this position for a few seconds and slowly lower yourself back down, bringing your heels to the floor with control. It may seem simple, but this movement places a significant demand on your ankles and quickly improves mobility. Now, let me explain why this exercise is so effective. First, it forces your ankles to work in a greater range of motion than they're used to, which improves flexibility and stability in the area. Second, it strengthens the muscles in your feet, which is essential for preventing pain and compensations. Third, it teaches your body to balance better in the squat position, eliminating that feeling that you're going to fall backward. But pay attention, there are some mistakes you need to avoid. The first mistake is performing the movement carelessly without control. The key here is to rise slowly and lower slowly, feeling every part of the movement. The second mistake is pushing too hard at the beginning. If you've never done this exercise before, your ankles might be very stiff, so start with short repetitions and gradually increase. The third mistake is forgetting to maintain proper posture. Even with your heels lifted, your chest should stay open and your spine should remain neutral. Now, the big question, how many repetitions should you do? Since this is a mobility exercise, the ideal is to perform 10 to 15 repetitions, holding for a few seconds at the top of the movement. If possible, repeat for 2 to 3 sets. The more you practice, the faster your ankles will gain flexibility and stability. If you want to increase the challenge, there are a few ways to progress in this exercise. The first is to hold a weight against your chest while performing the movement, which will require more balance. The second is to do the movement one leg at a time, further increasing the demand on your ankles and feet. Now, you might be wondering, do I really need to do this every day? And the answer is yes. If your ankles are a problem for your squat, the only way to fix this is through consistent practice. If you dedicate just a few minutes a day to this exercise, I guarantee that in a few weeks, you'll notice a significant improvement in your mobility. So here's a challenge for you. For the next week, do 10 repetitions of this exercise every day, focusing on the movement and respecting your limits. After 7 consecutive days, let me know how it went. I'm sure you'll notice changes not only in your squat, but also in the way you walk, climb stairs, and even in your posture throughout the day. Now that we've covered this exercise, it's time to move on to the last one on the list, and let me tell you, this is simply the most important one of all. If you could choose only one squat to do for the rest of your life, this would be it. So get ready because I'm about to show you the true king of mobility. Number 1. Natural squat. This is the most essential movement of the human body. If you observe small children, you'll notice that they squat all the time, effortlessly, playing, picking up objects, or simply resting. But as we grow older and spend more time sitting, we lose this natural ability. The result? Locked hips, stiff ankles, poor posture, and even chronic pain. The natural squat is simply staying in a deep squat position for a period of time, without rushing, without tension. This restores your body's ability to move freely. Now, before you assume this is easy, try it right now. Lower yourself completely and stay there for 30 seconds. If you feel discomfort, struggle with balance, or notice that your body wants to get out of the position quickly, that's a sign you need to practice more. The key here is not just to hold the position, but to relax into it. Let your body settle, take deep breaths, gently shift your hips from side to side, and allow your joints to adapt. And the best part, you can do this every day. In fact, the more time you spend in this position throughout the day, the better. Start with 1 to 2 minutes a day, then gradually increase until you can hold it for 5 minutes without discomfort. If you can do this, your body will change completely. Your squat will become easier, your posture will improve, and even back pain may disappear. So here's the final challenge. For the next 7 days, try spending at least 2 minutes a day in the natural squat position. You can do it in the morning, while using your phone, or before bed. Try it and let me know how your body feels after a week. I guarantee the results will surprise you.